Yo, yo, yo. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom. He can barely see me because I'm all fuzzy today. So that be that. That's, I guess, how things work sometimes. Tom, what's going on? We are talking trust matters today, turning what seems like a loss into a win. But first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty well. I feel like I'm having slightly fewer technical difficulties than you today, which is different. Usually, I'm the one with the technical issues because I've got so much stuff going on my side. But yeah, the only thing I've been having happen, and I know how to like band-aid fix it, but I got to figure out how to like fix it is one of my monitors periodically just won't connect to my computer, and then I have to like go into the preferences and like trash the preferences and then reboot the computer, and then it works. But like it's happening almost like on a daily basis now that I have to do that in order to get this monitor to work. And it's the monitor that I use for these kinds of things. It's the one that's on the teleprompter. So it's the one I'm looking at right now. It's the one I can see your face on. So yeah, so it's annoying because it's the one that I have to use for any sort of video conferencing that I do for this, for this podcast. But it is what it is. I mean, at least I know how to like put a band-aid on it and get it working again. It's just annoying that I have to keep doing it. So I feel your pain because I had to do that before I got on here. I had to like trash the preferences and reboot it. It's a whole thing, but I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. Maybe that's what you got to do with your camera. Maybe there's a preferences file, and it's not, the computer's not recognizing it, and if you trash the preferences and reboot the computer, it'll rebuild the preferences file, and you'll be off to the races. Who knows?
It is depressing when some days the camera doesn't work or your screen doesn't work. Like sometimes I'll come down and all of a sudden I'm trying to boot things up and I realize, like you're saying, all of a sudden it switched to a different monitor. So I sit here for like an hour not realizing this monitor has all the stuff on it and I just need to go back through. Like I went through ChatGPT the other day and it helped me rehook up monitors and everything like that. It was like push LLL and control 50 times and then you'll see if your computer's actually working. I felt like a genius the day I like fixed all the monitors and stuff. So Tom, I hear you. We're talking wins and losses, and what do you got in mind today? So what were you thinking, Tom?
Well, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, right? You know that the World Cup is happening right now, right? We are one of the host countries, right? The US is one of the host countries. And my wife actually sent me an interesting Instagram post about the world, like about FIFA and the World Cup and something that's going on right now that I thought actually kind of pertains to the kind of things that we talk about, because it was a company turning what on its surface I think would look like a marketing or a commercial kind of failure into a win, and the reason why they were able to do that. And so the story goes like this. Basically, FIFA, just like any other sort of big event organization, is very particular about what brands they allow to sort of be associated with their events, right? Or what brand logos they allow to be seen in their events, because one of the ways that events make money is through brand sponsorships, right? So if you're not a sponsor, they make sure that their audience can't see your brand, because that's how they make a bunch of money, right? Is exposing a brand to their audience, right? So one of the things they did is in a bunch of FIFA, World Cup venues, there are Heinz products, right? Heinz ketchup, Heinz mustard, et cetera, right? But ketchup is the main one. I mean, most people, when you say Heinz, they think ketchup, right? Um, and so what FIFA did is, because Heinz is not an official sponsor of FIFA or the World Cup, FIFA went through and put black tape over all the Heinz logos on all the bottles of Heinz ketchup and other condiments from Heinz in the venues to basically prevent them from being seen as a brand at FIFA sponsored events because they are not a sponsor. And so Heinz, like on its surface, I think that looks like oh no, a bit of a commercial snafu, right? Like, oh crap, here we are, like the world's biggest sporting event, and our logo is covered up. And people are like publishing pictures of our logo being covered up. We're seeing it pop up online. There's people tweeting, Instagramming about it, posting it on social media because they just think it kind of looks ridiculous. But for us as a brand, like, oh no, this is a problem, right? But Heinz, instead of saying, oh no, this is a problem, they turned it into a marketing campaign, right? Because everybody knew it was Heinz. Everybody knew the ketchup was Heinz. They recognized the label, they recognized the bottle, right? And so Heinz turned it into a marketing campaign where they started sharing the pictures, they started posting them and saying it's gotta be, and then just a blank, right? Like just like fill in the blank. It's gotta be blank, right? Um, and everybody knew that what they were saying was it's gotta be Heinz, right? Which is one of their taglines. And so I thought it was a really clever way to turn what on its surface looks like a commercial loss into a marketing win. And what's really interesting to me is why they were able to do it. And the reason why they were able to do it is because they have built this brand reputation and this trust and this relationship with their audience over time, such that it is instantly recognizable, almost like they've become ubiquitous with ketchup, right? Like the Heinz name is like almost without fail. If you ask for ketchup somewhere, whether you're at a restaurant or at a friend's house, and you ask for ketchup, they put ketchup down in front of you, it's almost always going to be Heinz, right? Heinz is the ketchup. And so they've built this trust over time, they've built this brand reputation. And so they were able to turn this into a win because of the work they've put in over, a century plus. I think Heinz has been around for a very long time, right? They're an old company. And so I guess the question then becomes, okay, great. But they're Heinz, right? Like Heinz is a megalith, right? They're this huge company that's been around for over 100 years, right? Has a huge reputation, global brand. I'm just Tom, right? Or I'm just Dom, or I'm just whoever. How do I do something like that? Like, how does this apply to me? And my answer is that it proves the point that trust is built through consistency over time, right? And if you start showing up for your audience consistently over time, you will build trust. Are you going to become Heinz in the next couple of weeks? No. In the next year? No. Right? You're just not. It takes 100 years to get to where Heinz is now. But you can start down that path, right? You can start moving in that direction if you show up for your audience consistently over time. And I think, obviously, I'm biased. I'm gonna, go ahead and kind of like beat my drum again. But I think you do that by producing content that provides your audience with value, right? Giving it without expectation, putting your audience first, right? Starting with story, following with facts, all the things that I talk about in Legendeering. I think that's how you do it, right? So to answer that sort of question that I think, my focus on this story begs, how do I become Heinz? Well, you do what Heinz did and you start building brand reputation over time. You consistently deliver for your audience over and over and over again. And eventually you will become the first thing that people think of when they think of what you do or what you sell. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Tom, I love the subject, and I went through some examples. I was studying examples of, and I really looked at it as like when you said mishaps, marketing mishaps, things that happen to a brand, whether like Domino's admitted, like, hey, um, yeah, we messed up with our dough, or McDonald's and the CEO. The CEO looked like a jerk when he took a small bite of the hamburger, but I still went to McDonald's a week later. I wasn't. McDonald's had delivered the the meal I wanted for 30, 40 years. So I go back to McDonald's. I don't care that the CEO uh, made a bad video. I laugh at it for a week or something like that, but I still go back to McDonald's. So I'm going to bring up one that you brought up last week in your PSA. You made a PSA about Nate Bargatze going to the White House. Now, I've watched Nate Bargatze's comedy for 10 years. I think the guy's funny. Uh, he doesn't go social in his, he doesn't do political humor. He doesn't even swear in his humor. He just basically clean cut, clean cut humor. I get it. He gives me the same thing over and over. He really makes fun of himself. Now, when I thought about this last week, even in his act, he talks about being a UFC fan. So at the UFC, you could get tickets for this big event. Like if somebody invited me to the NBA finals or the Pirates finals, I Pittsburgh Pirates, I would go because I'm a fan. I talk about being a fan of sports and things like that. It was at the White House. But I guess Dana White had so many tickets, Trump had so many tickets, but it was a big event at White House for a sport this guy loves. If it's a miss, maybe it's a miss, but I'm saying the guy's delivered comedy to me over and over. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm all right. I'm all right with whatever happened because I don't care about that. I care about the same comedy that he's delivered over and over. So for me, I'm saying, hey, Nate, maybe it was a miss, maybe it wasn't, but I don't care. Just keep delivering the content to me, and I'm gonna keep watching. I'll watch your nest. I saw today. I just bought tickets to a baseball game tomorrow night, and when I was looking, it said what else was in Pittsburgh, and I see he's coming July 30th to Pittsburgh. I'm like, I didn't buy those tickets today, but I might if I was in town. So that's what I got. That's my first one, Tom. Keep delivering comedy. So go on. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I got to push back a little bit here, right? Because, like,
I knew you would. I got more too. So go
hey,
on.
if I got invited to the NBA finals, I would go, but it wasn't like it wasn't the championship match, right? Like it wasn't the world title match. It was just another match. And actually, from what I hear, I didn't watch it because contrary to it being put out as like an event for the people, right? It was only for the people that had Paramount Plus, which I don't have, right? So I didn't even watch it, right? So it wasn't really for the people at all. It was for the subscribers of Paramount Plus, and to try to drive subscribers to Paramount Plus, which is, happens to be owned by like a good buddy of the president. I'm sure just a coincidence. And the fighters were paid bonuses in the president's crypto stablecoin. I'm sure just a coincidence, right? But the problem is that it wasn't a championship bout. It wasn't the world championship of MMA, right? Or ultimate fighting or whatever, right? It was just another fight. So like the argument of, well, I would go if somebody, offered me tickets to the NBA finals. Well, the question is like, are the tickets in like the owner's box, like in Dolan's box, right? Like if you got invited to the Knicks finals, like are they in Dolan's box, who is like notoriously a terrible person and a bad owner, right? Like, do you go to sit next to that guy, right? Like, is that something you want to do, or do you stay at home and watch it and not have to like sort of damage your reputation by sitting next to somebody who is who's not a very desirable person? So I don't know. Anyway, I think at the end of the day, it's hard to swallow the argument like, oh, I just went because it was my favorite. Like, look, there's MMA fights all over the place all the time. Nobody has given him grief for going to any MMA fights. It wasn't just an MMA fight. It was an MMA fight that you could only go to if Donald Trump wanted you to go to it, right? Like that was the difference. So that's kind of, that's my pushback there. It's not.
All right.
Not really
Or Dana or the Sheik. I think all three got 1,000 tickets. So I think you had to be a soldier. Dana got 1,000. Trump got 1,000. So that's my pushback there. I think
yeah, but ultimately, you know There's no way if Dana White invited somebody that Donald Trump hated, absolutely hated and despised, do you think that person would be allowed to come onto the White House grounds?
Hey, maybe, maybe not, but I'm saying this guy delivering comedy to me. I don't know who gave him his ticket or who, what after Dana. I mean, if Dana gave him a ticket, did he have to call Donald Trump and say, "Hey, Donald, was this ticket ultimately approved by you?" I mean, what?
I
I
mean,
mean,
look, first of all, I would bet money, yes. But second of all, the point is that it was a political event. And Nate Bargatze consistently says, "Oh, I'm not political. I'm not
right?
political." Well, then what are you doing at a political event?
Watching UFC.
So, but it was still a political event. There's
Come
plenty of
on.
other places, other ways to watch UFC without engaging in a political event. That's
All
the
right,
point.
I got more of
You,
these for you, so we're going to go on
yeah,
here. Oh,
you can't say you're not political and then go to political events like that. Just you can't have it both
I'm
ways.
telling you, I've never done politics one time, and I would have been at that. I would have been at that event to watch Justin Gaethje fight. Hey, and I wouldn't have thought one thing. Now I might have got some backlash, but I would have been there to watch. I would,
And fairly, you fairly would have gotten backlash because it was a political event.
and I would have been there to watch. Yeah, Jason saying me. I think he wanted to. I think he would have been at the event too to watch. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on. So what do we got? More companies, more trust. I was thinking the same thing about this. I'll go one more example. I was at the Mexican restaurant the other day in one of the Mexican restaurants in town. That is where I used to have a restaurant. It's in the same spot. So since I closed my restaurant, we've been going to this Mexican restaurant. It's some nostalgia from where I used to have a restaurant, but it's been good for 20 years. The other day, it was the worst, Tom. It was the absolute worst. Every person in there was on their cell phones. The food was good. The service was terrible for like the first time ever. I mean, it was so slow, so bad. Uh, I'm going to go back because I trust that it was a bad experience that day. Yeah, I'll give them another shot based on that. I trust what they've given me over time. This one bad experience does not, it did sour. And, but I will go back. So what say you then? Let's get to Holly.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that case, like what trust earns you over time is second chances, right? Like it earns you the benefit of the doubt. So, because look, we all make mistakes, right? We all drop the ball sometimes. And I think, in all fairness, in that example, I would go back to the restaurant again. If I had one bad experience there over 20 years, right? I would go back. I would give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, maybe it was a one-off, right? If it becomes consistently worse, then yeah, you stop going, right? I think the flip side is maybe going back to the first example, maybe Nate Bargatze has learned his lesson, right? That like you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're apolitical and then go to political events. Maybe he never shows up at another political event, right? Or any other event that is endorsed by or attended by Donald Trump. Maybe he just doesn't do it because it's not worth the backlash, right? Because he knows he's built up a lot of trust and equity with his audience over time, and he doesn't want to burn that. If he keeps going to Donald Trump events, I guarantee he's going to lose a lot of fans, right? Because people are going to say, hey, you can't say you're not political, but you keep showing up to these political events. Guess what, buddy? You're political. You just don't want to own it, right? And that's a problem, right? Then it feels disingenuous. Then it feels like you're being gaslit or being lied to, right? So yeah. But I think, yeah, if the Mexican restaurant, yeah, like in that example, I would go back. I'd go back again, give him another shot. One bad experience in 20 years. Yeah, I don't think that earns a boycott.
All right. Me and Tom are already agreeing on something. Holly, what's your take on this? Do you have an example for us or somebody that you just ditched because you lost trust in them? What say you, Holly? How are you?
Hey, I'm good this morning. I don't have a lot to add yet. I'm listening. I trust goes a long ways with me, and I am one of those that will give you a second chance because I do trust you, and you have earned my trust. Um, I can't. I've been trying to think of an example, and I just don't have anything to add at that, at that level. Um, thinking about the political event, showing up to that, I'm not sure I'm totally on board with just because you show up means you're political. Because I go to things sometimes for reasons that are not because I support what the event is. Maybe I go to watch one person I know, or maybe I go in support of something else that has nothing really to do with the event. So maybe I'm not really there to support the event. I'm there to support something else about it, or something, a person. So that's where my thoughts go on that. But I'm not the big name, and it's not politics. So, I don't know if I'm comparing, apples to oranges or what there, but I'm just kind of at a loss so far, but I'm listening and I'm interested.
Tom, you got something on that? Go on.
No, it's all good. I get that, Holly. But like you said at the end, right? Like it's a very different situation when you are a public figure, right? I think you have to weigh into account. And I think the thing that really sort of undercut maybe, some other arguments that could have been made, or explanations that could have been given for why, Bargatze went to that event, was basically somebody close to him put out a statement, and all they said was UFC is his favorite sport. MMA is his favorite sport. That was it. That was the whole statement. There was no sort of acknowledgement of, I see how this could be misinterpreted. Just to clarify things, here's where I stand. I'm still not political. Like, I didn't go because of that. I went because, like, I've been following this fighter for his whole career, and I wanted to blah, 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 or whatever, right? Like, maybe that was it. I don't know. But like, without an explanation like that, it just, you leave it open to interpretation, and the interpretation ain't good. But yeah, so yeah, I acknowledge like what you said, Holly, that at the end, I think being a public figure puts it in a different sphere, right? So, because at the end of the day, nobody cares, right? If I go to a political event, or Dom goes to a political event for any other reason, right? Maybe we go because our favorite band is playing, or, there's a boxing match and Dom's a big fan of one of the fighters or something like that. Like, and we don't go because of politics, but nobody cares either way, because we're not public figures. We don't have, huge audiences, like he does. So anyway, that's my thought.
Tom, that's a good point. And I tell my authors a lot of times, as they enter the world of public domain and start promoting and putting themselves out there and putting their thoughts out there, that they are exposing themselves to interpretation. They are exposing themselves to negative feedback. Are you ready? Are you comfortable when you put your story out to the world, that the response that's going to come back? And so knowing that, they need to be ready for pushback. If you like you said, you go to, nobody cares. And if me and you go, nobody would have cared. But the higher you swim and the more you put yourself out there, the more you open yourself up to judgment, people are going to care. Hey, why'd you do this? Why? Like, I smoke a cigar at Steeler games sometimes. Like, I say I share inspiration, positivity, and smiles. I feel me smoking a cigar with my dad or with my friends is inspiration, positivity, and smiles. One of my buddies called me one time and he said, Dominic, I see what you do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I see you with that cigar. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're smoking poison. And I was like, it's one cigar with my family, with my friends every once in a while. He's like, yeah, but you wouldn't hit yourself over the head with a hammer one time, would you? Because it's just a little bit bad. And I'm like, well, Tom, and I put myself out there by sharing a picture of me and my buddies smoking a cigar, and this guy's gonna pass whatever judgment he would. Had I not put picture of myself out there smoking cigar, well, I guess I wouldn't have got that feedback. So before Jason, we're gonna go Jason and Julie, but speak on that, Tom.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, what is that? Does that friend of yours think that like positivity and smiles is the same as like I'm I'm living the perfect life or something like that. Like, that's just strange. At the end of the day, like, people derive joy from a variety of different sources, right? I mean, like, I'm a lunatic. I find joy in spending, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a week exercising, right? Like, that's crazy to most people. They would look at me and be like, "What are you doing? You're insane." To me, I find joy in it, right? It makes me a happier person. So I do it, right? But I think, and also, as you well know, I'm often will have a cigar at the end of the day, right? Like, I also have a whiskey collection, right? I mean, like, square all those circles. It just, people are enigmatic and individual, right? And so and idiosyncratic, and you have to accept that. And it's just, it's a weird, it always strikes me as weird when people try to forcefully impose their own sort of ideas or perceptions on what the world should be onto other people in such ultra specific, like, personal behavior kind of ways, right? Like, to say, hey, you having a cigar is the same as hitting yourself in the head with a hammer, and that's not positivity. Like, that is a hell of a leap to take, buddy. Right? I mean, like, I don't know, you are skipping all the steps and just jumping from the roof down to the ground. Like, I mean, that is a hell of a leap. But to each their own. I just think it's weird when people kind of, like, impose that sort of, like, very particular, view on others. Let people find joy in their own ways, man.
I hear you, man. All right, this is not the smartest guys in the room. Julie, hold on. We're going to Jason because I know Jason's a UFC fan and he's going to give me some love here. So, Jason, before we get to Tom's thumbs, what do you got for us, man?
I think that you guys are making a lot of great points, but being political event, no. Um, if I were to cross-examine you to prove something that exists, Tom, I'd be asking you questions. Was there a campaign mentioned at any time? Was there policy referred to at the fight at any time? And since you didn't watch it, but you only maybe have gotten glimpses, what did you take away, or did you have a political party bias in which you're making an assumptive view on the just the publication or the indication in social media or how people have talked about it? Because a lot of the things that, if you, let's say you, I represent, let's just say the Trumps, right? And I'm going to accuse you of defamatory remarks because you're a public figure. Now, you said it was a political event, politically motivated. It could have been. Many more presidents have held many events on the White House grounds, even changed the grounds many times. But you still didn't provide actual proof that it was politically motivated. Maybe because the way that you vote, like many others who are, let's say, anti-Trump, would believe that. But if we looked at the statistics of the actual viewers who watched the event, even post-event and recorded, the numbers weren't very high. And as far as what it represents is something more sinister, is because it's a herd mentality. If I herd you together and say something in sensitivity awareness to your cognitive ability and non-cognitive ability, then I would put you in question and I wouldn't listen to you, because I would end up finding out that more or less just by laying the table or setting the table, as we say, let you eat, and then we get to see what you're really full of, but I'm not doing that to Tom. I'm using it as an example. This is what happens. And when we give opinions about things about that are optically have to be this way, we have to ask ourselves, is it my participation or my assumption about the things that are taking place and translating what they translate to? And the thing is, like, for example, Tom's thumbs. I enjoy Tom's thumbs. Sometimes I feel he's very much of a cynic, and I'm like, well, he talks about positivity, but the tone of his voice tends to produce non-positivity. But if you look beyond what your impression is, what is he saying? What are the things that he sets the table with and lays out in foundation? It's his personal view, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have a personal view, just like opinion. but doesn't mean that we react to all personal views and opinions. We can take the view of a Stoic and observe yourself, observe how you feel, observe what other people say. Take some time, maybe take 3 days. You still think the same thing that you thought impressionally at first? More likely there's going to be some nuances, but that's just an example. So hopefully that answers your question, Dom.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Tom, what do you got for us, man?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say appreciate that, Jason. And appreciate you being here. Appreciate your point of view and you sharing it as always. I think from my perspective, I concede. Yeah, lots of other presidents have hosted lots of events on the White House grounds. Absolutely. In fact, back in his day, Teddy Roosevelt hosted a boxing match. I think he actually boxed someone on the White House grounds while he was president, because he notoriously a big boxing fan and a boxer himself. But I would also contend that any event hosted on the White House grounds by a sitting president is inherently political, because the president is a political figure. They are a politician by definition. And so any event that they host is inherently political to some degree. I never said it was politically motivated, but it was definitely a political event. I think any sitting president that hosts any event at the White House, that event is de facto political, just by nature of its host and the venue. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, again, I have no issue with hosting an MMA fight on the White House grounds, right? Like I'm not gonna die on that hill. I think the thing that like sort of really irked me about it was the grifty nature of it, right? That was what really kind of got me, was that Trump and his family were using it as a way to make money, and that bugs me, right? I think that's a problem. That's not something that's good. I think overall, any political event, right? Obama hosting a state dinner, right? That's a political event at the White House. Just is, because it's hosted by a politician, who's the sitting president of the United States. So I think any of those events qualify as political events.
Fair enough. All right, we're moving on. And I'm just going to say this is 250 years of America this summer. And we kicked butt 250 years of America. So I'm celebrating on the 4th of July. I'm going to Jimmy's cabin, who I see down there. But before all that, we're talking. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see some people in that I haven't seen for a while. So welcome. Thanks for being here. I see our old friend Ching. Ching, thanks for being here. Jason, Holly, Julie, of course. Julie, we're coming to you in a second. But first, we're going to Tom's Thumbs. And I'm going to it. This is an easy Tom's Thumbs for you, Tom. We're bringing this back around. I think you're going to think it's good, but I don't know. Tom, what do you think about the Scottish invasion in America because of the World Cup? What's your thoughts on that? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay, so I've been seeing lots of reports of the Scots, particularly who have sort of made Boston home base for them during their time here in the States for the World Cup. There's been a huge influx of Scottish folks, Scottish football fans in Boston for the World Cup, and they have taken over the town and literally drunk it dry. The Sam Adams tap room ran out of beer. They ran out of beer. The tap room for the Sam Adams Brewery, that beer that you can go into any store anywhere in the country and buy some of their beer, right? That's how much beer they make. They ran out of beer. There was another Irish pub in Boston that I saw. They ran out of beer also. The only beer left was Bud Light, which I loved. I thought was hilarious. The only beer they had left was Bud Light, because even the Scots, who are drinking the town dry, won't touch it. So I thought that was hilarious. But tripled their St. Patrick's Day sales in one weekend with the Scottish invasion for the World Cup. So yeah, they have taken over Boston, but I think here is the thing that really kind of sums up how they've landed in the city and the way they've carried themselves. Despite the fact that they have drunk the city dry, despite the fact that they drank all the Sam Adams and that they've tapped out a multitude of other bars, despite the fact that I heard a story that a woman went into a liquor store in the Boston area, bought 2 bottles of water, and got booed for buying 2 bottles of water by a bunch of Scotsmen who were in the store, which is kind of hilarious. Despite all of that, they went to Boston Common, this huge Boston sort of like big downtown park in the center of Boston, the Boston Common, right? They went to the Boston Common. They were having a great time, hooping it up, partying, hanging out, drinking, et cetera, et cetera. And there was one guy, a gentleman there who worked for the Parks Department, who was cleaning up after them, right? And he did an interview, and they were asking, how big a mess did they make? Did they trash the place? And his response was, no, actually, there's very little to pick up. I'm one person, and I can easily do this job by myself. They've carried themselves well. We're happy to have them here. Welcome to Boston. We love you. And I think that sums it up, right? When you go to another country, when you drink all their beer and they still love having you there, right? I think it's a testament to how well you've carried yourself, how well you've comported yourself, even when clearly inebriated. So to the Scottish soccer fans, football fans taking over Boston and drinking the town dry, I give them all a huge thumbs up, and hopefully I'll get to hoist one with them soon.
Tom, I like it. I was hoping you'd say that. I don't think you can be too. The word cynical was used earlier. I don't think you can be cynical about it. It's just good, And I hear them cleaning up after themselves, them bringing business to the United States. Now they're rolling down to Miami. I see the kilts walking down South Beach, and the bagpipes playing. So, and then I'm hearing them saying how nice all the Americans are treating them and how they're welcoming them. Seems pretty good to me. So I am glad you weighed in positively on the Scott takeover. Thank you, Tom, as always.
I'm happy I could give you a thumbs up and for once not be your heel and not be too cynical, which is, it's always funny to me when people describe me as cynical, because I am actually like, and this because you know me personally, right? But like, I am actually an eternal optimist, right? Like, I wholeheartedly, fundamentally believe in my heart, deep down, like, no matter what happens, no matter the challenges that I face or the people around me face or we share, I'm like the first person to say, it'll be all right. We'll get through this. Let's just keep going. Right. Like, I am that guy. When everybody else is like, there's no way we can do this, I'm like, let's just try. Let's keep going. Right. Like, I'm that guy. So I totally get how I come across as cynical, because I'm also like very pragmatic. At the same time, but I'm also like, I'm definitely deep down just an eternal optimist and always believe that everything's going to work out okay. So yeah, it's always funny when people describe me as cynical to me, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess kind of I could see how you think that, but yeah, if you know me, you know that I'm always optimistic.
Tom, that's a perfect segue here, and I love that about you, that both sides. One, you believe in a brighter tomorrow, but also that you're pragmatic. And I feel like I'm the same way. Like, I was on a plane next to a lady one day, and she was afraid of a crash. And I said, "Oh, well, it's lucky you're sitting by me, because I believe if this plane goes down, I'm going to jump out and land in a tree." And she was like, "Well, I'm glad I'm sitting by you." And it made me think. Yesterday, me and my daughter were in a convenience store and buying a giant Mountain Dew and whatever she was getting, an energy drink. And I said to the lady at the counter, she was like, "How's it going?" And I was like, "It's the best day ever." And she was like, "Really? It's the best day ever?" I said, "Yeah. And tomorrow is going to be even better than today." And I'm like you, Tom. the optimist in me says, yeah, today's great and tomorrow's going to be even better. So, what do you think about that?
I think the difference is that like I'm eternally optimistic, but I'm not always upbeat. Right. So like it's funny because like I would never answer that question if somebody's like, how's it going? I'd be like, I'm doing all right. How are you doing? You know, like it just I would do the pleasantries thing, but I would never be like, it's the best day ever. It's just not me. Also, like on a plane, like I don't get stressed out about flights. I've spent a lot of time on planes, probably more than most folks traveling around the world, but I don't really worry about flights at all because again my pragmatism breaks in. I don't think I'm going to jump out and land in a tree safely. I just simply acknowledge the fact that there's nothing I can do. Right, there is literally nothing I can do. If the plane is going to crash, me getting upset or freaking out or stressing isn't going to change anything. And so like I'm not gonna waste my time on it. I'm not gonna waste my anxiety on it. Also, I'm a little bit broken. I don't know that I like feel fear the same way other people do sometimes. And I think my wife has kind of pointed that out to me. Like I just thought like, oh, everybody's like this, but apparently I'm a little bit weird in the way that I whether or not I feel fear. So yeah, so I don't know. That's my take though, is like that's where my pragmatism makes me a little bit different. But I think the thing we have in common is like a fundamental belief that like everything will work out, right? Like that is consistent. That thread, that through line is always there with me, no matter what. I always believe. I don't think I've ever had a moment in my life when I haven't believed that everything was going to work out okay.
Love it, Tom. Yeah, might not be today, but maybe probably tomorrow if it doesn't work out. Hey, Julie. So Julie's next, and Dr. Chachi. We got Eric up on stage. Welcome everybody. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We got a late start today, so we got some minutes here because my camera is crap today, and it made me mad, and then we were behind. But Julie, I thought this was funny because I know sometimes me and Julie are in business together. We have a podcast and we host Creative Con. We got the OTR coming to Boston on the road. But Julie, sometimes I say no, sometimes I'm negative, right? But I'm ultimately positive. So
Yes.
we're talking trust matters too, but weigh in on all this.
First of all, Tom has me all worried that there's going to be no alcohol left in Boston when we get there. Number one, that was my biggest concern. But seriously, Dom always comes at me no matter what. His standard line is no. But it just takes a little bit of finessing to get him to the yes. So I've learned the tricks of the trade. So if anyone wants to get Dom to say yes, just reach out to me. I'll tell you all the tricks. And as I'm thinking, I really don't have anything to say about UFC except that my kids watched it, but I have a lot to say about Donald Trump. And I'll say this, try to say this as not politically charged as possible, but I'm going to kind of guess that most people will be on my side on this. If you want to garner trust, no matter if you're a business, a human being, a politician, it's aligning your personal brand with your actions. If you think about how Trump, espoused himself into elections, are his actions aligning with his brand that he has, or is he trying to, detract from his name on the Epstein files? Is he trying to overturn elections? Is he treating women with the respect that he said? And then I have to ask you, why wasn't he invited to the Obama Presidential Center opening with all the other presidents? Can we trust someone like that? And I'm just saying this overarching, we don't have to talk about trust, but it is a perfect example of lining your brand with your actions. And I hope I didn't piss anyone off here on this very non-political show, Not the Smartest Guys. Thanks, guys. Chiming in from Las Vegas. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually a little bit more comfortable getting political than Dom is. But I won't.
What's that all about? Come on, let's go. Let's go, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I won't. I don't want to, because we could go down a rabbit hole and spend the whole rest of the show on this, and Dom would just be shaking his head and getting angry. He's in the back channel private message. He just typed no with like 4 O's because he doesn't. just because he doesn't want me to take up the whole rest of the show with it, right?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, he's not trying to censor me. He's just saying I don't want to spend the whole rest of the show on this, and I agree. I don't want to spend the whole rest of the show on it either.
Oh, wow.
But I think I mean, I think the evidence is very available, right, to answer your questions, Julie, right? The evidence is all there. Do his actions line up with his rhetoric and his words? And I think if you want to be even remotely fact-based about it, the answer has to be no, not even close, right? Like not even close. The whole idea was affordability and to drive down costs, and right, like what's happening to inflation, what's happening to the price of gas, what's happening to the price of groceries, like what has gotten less expensive. I saw a statistic that since February, the average American has spent almost $500 extra out of their pockets simply because of the policies enacted by this administration. So yeah, if you're trying to make things more affordable, you're doing the exact opposite. So either you're woefully incompetent or you're a liar, right? Like those are kind of the only two options. So yeah, I'm with you, Julie. You know, I think the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, or the actions. Anyway, Dom, I'll throw it back to you before I continue.
Yeah, and you guys are killing my non-political show here. It's funny.
Let's go, Dom. Stop
I
saying
went-
no to us.
I went through my examples today of when we were talking about trust, and then what I really saw it is times a company messed up, you know, although it was like handed for Heinz to run a campaign because somebody else did something to them, and then they used what somebody else did to use it as advertising, right? Marketing. They marketed. So I took a few like Nike has been through this. Nike, what is it, Tom? Nike or Nike? I remember one day we had this argument.
I'm pretty sure it's Nike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nike has been through 1,000 things like this where they put themselves out there numerous times and the public did not like whatever campaign they were running. Or Nike had Zion Williamson's shoe blowout on national TV when he was like the greatest up and coming basketball player. His shoe blows out and their stock dipped like, I think it was like $1 billion in a day or something. They come back because ultimately they make cool looking shoes, you know, for runners, for athletes. They're pretty good. I don't know if they're fair priced or not, but they're consistent. I'm going to get a good shoe. I'm going to get a pretty cool shoe. So it keeps coming back. So they mess up, but they're consistent with the shoe. That ultimately the product is the shoe. The product is the sportswear. They're consistent with that. And when they get back to that, to all these companies that get away from what they do at times, when they get back to making good beer, or when they get back to Disney World, when they get back to making families happy at Disney, they probably do a pretty good job with it. When they get away from what they've been good at and insert themselves into politics or whatever else, it doesn't always go well. So that's where I want to travel that road. What do you say, Tom?
I mean, so I think I would push back a little bit, right? I mean, I don't think it's inherently bad. You know, when you're looking at a large consumer brand, right, like Nike, right, or Heinz, when you're looking at that kind of business, there is a difference when it comes to sort of like taking a political stance, right? There is a little bit of risk there because your audience is so big, right? Your customer base is so broad that there is a good chance that some people in your customer base are not going to like it and may stop buying your products because of it, right? So there is a little bit more risk for a company like that. But I think for most of us, right, and probably most of the people that would hear this show who are not global consumer brands like Heinz or Nike, the risk is really minimal. Ultimately, what you're doing when you align yourself with, say, a political movement, like celebrating, right? It's June, it's Pride Month, right? So like, say you celebrate Pride, right, in your business, right? Say you put you've got a brick and mortar, say you're a little ice cream shop in a small town, and you put a pride flag out in front of your ice cream shop during Pride Month, right? Like, I think that is dramatically less risky than a company like Nike or Heinz taking a very clear political stance, like that's either left or right, rather than like progressive social issues, right? I think most often what you see companies like them doing is engaging with like progressive social issues because they have broad support, right? Like when you look at the numbers behind even supporting Pride, right? Like overwhelmingly the populace says, yeah, Pride's good, right? Pride Month is good. Gay people are good. Like there's nothing wrong with supporting people who are different than you, right? That everybody should have the same opportunities in this country, right? Regardless of your sexual preference or ethnicity, whatever the case may be, right? So like overwhelmingly those ideas are broadly supported. And so it's not super risky to take sort of progressive social stances, which is often what people like sort of characterize as political, right, in those contexts. And I don't think like taking progressive social stances are super risky for any company, and they're definitely not risky for small companies, because at the end of the day, what you're going to find is the majority of people that you want to be involved with your business, that you want to be your customers or your community or your audience, if you want align yourself with progressive social ideas, those people are going to come to you, and you're going to end up with a bunch of people who you like and who you want to be associated with, being associated with your brand or your business. So I don't think it's super risky to do. It may feel scary because there is that idea of like, oh no, some people might not like this, right? But at the end of the day, you just kind of have to like take a deep breath and power through that fear, and understand that on the other side of that, there's far more opportunity, and you're actually limiting yourself by giving into that fear. So that's my thought on those kinds of stances and those kind of campaigns. Curious to hear what you think about this, Dr. Tachi. We're talking about the Heinz Heinz turning the FIFA censoring their logo at all their venues into a marketing win by using those images in their marketing and advertising over the last couple of days. Curious to hear what you think about trust, why it matters, and how you can turn something like a loss into a win.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand. I'm not sure what happened with Heinz and the logo. Can I get a tiny bit of a preview?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Heinz, FIFA covers up logos of anybody who's not a sponsor at any of their events. And Heinz is not a sponsor, but a lot of the venues have Heinz products at their concessions. And so what FIFA did was they went around and put black tape over the Heinz name, over the logo on all the bottles, right? So there's all these pictures that started popping up online of Heinz ketchup bottles with black tape over the word Heinz. And so Heinz turned it into a marketing campaign, posting those pictures themselves and saying, it's got to be, because it's got to be Heinz is one of their logos or one of their taglines. But instead of the Heinz, it just said it's got to be blank. And then the picture of the ketchup bottle with the black tape over the Heinz logo, basically saying like, even when the logo's covered up, you still know if you want ketchup, it's got to be Heinz.
I think that is brilliant marketing. And again, making lemonade out of lemons, or turning your lemons into lemonade is fantastic. So I think that, to speak to that part of it, they've already built a brand, and they've built, as you've said, trust over years. So here's the thing: when people know and recognize your work, even if the name is covered up, they know it's you. So if you have, for example, a signature style of something you do, and you do something in a particular way, and it's that good, you can do something. Somebody could try and thief it, to use vernacular, from you, but people would know, oh no, that's such and such. I recognize that. That's why there are people that, when other people try to pop up and use their systems or their styles, people right away are like, you took that from such and such because you branded yourself in such a way and have garnered such an amount of trust that people know that it's you before you even enter the room. People know that it's you before they even see the name. So that's kind of what comes to mind with that whole situation. I don't know if that's what you were looking for in terms of an answer, but that's what I thought of.
Dr. Tachi, perfect in that you brought up something we hadn't talked about yet, that trust that is in the room before you enter, right? Heinz delivers, man. In Pittsburgh, they have, in Pittsburgh, there's signs that says like Heinz verified in a restaurant. If you don't, like, on the windows, people put Heinz verified, and that means you're serving Heinz ketchup there. That's how important it is around here.
You Pittsburghers.
And they tried to move out, but we still love them. Okay, trust matters. We're talking about people you trust, businesses you trust, time people recovered. Eric, what say you on the subject? Then we got some PSAs. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, good to be back and hanging for a minute. I got to say you're wrong on all points and somewhat right on a few. How's that?
Well, do tell, man. You get more time than that. This is a safe space, man. Give us some wrong, give us some right. What do you got?
So I will say a company can endure a bad paint job, so to speak, if what they have matters more than the problem it caused. For instance, if like there are some people that will never switch tennis shoes because of the comfort, the fit, the feel. And I know for us men, we are like, honey, do not buy me Fruit of the Loom. I've been a Heinz guy all my life. Don't go switching on me. And so I think part of it is if a product does what they do extremely well, they can weather a storm by just staying the course of being good at what they do and not getting caught up in the storm itself. It's kind of like, all right, so what? We screwed up. We'll fix it and move on. You know us, you love us. We've been around forever. You wear us every day. We made a blunder. And I think that's where companies really build trust is acknowledgement, but not responding, so to speak, to the popular, oh my God, we got to switch. No, sorry, not doing it. The other thing, I read this really interesting article that companies are moving away from logo driven marketing. So like the Heinz issue, but they're maintaining the font that has existed in their logo. So you'll start to see all of these campaigns that might use the Kellogg's font, but they don't stick the Kellogg's logo front and center or, brand every piece of marketing as Kellogg's whatever or Heinz 57 in the corner. But you'll be like, I know that font because what they've have been researching and seeing a response to is people respond to the message that's driven towards them, but the minute the marketing stamp of like this was brought to you by Heinz shows up, people turn the other way. It's like, really, I really liked what you were saying about we're all important, we should all matter, make somebody special today, and then you stick your logo on it versus I recognize that font, I bet that's Heinz saying it, but it doesn't matter because what was said is more important. So that when you go to the product shelf, go to the shopping cart, you recognize the font and the message that they shared with you comes as a like, oh, these are the people that are reminding me I matter. I got to support them. So watch for the trend in marketing where logos start to fade, script starts to lead. Like I said, trust. I ain't even going to talk about the whole swimming pool lining issue that now we've built another wall. It's like, dude, we all screw up. Just say, hey, pull the check, canceling it, got to find out what's going to happen, got to get it fixed. Might take us some while, but we apologize. Moving on to the more important issues. And that's kind of like the furthest I'll dip into the political pool today.
Hey, Eric, thank you. Appreciate it, man. And I like, which sometimes you just got to fix it. I know you as a publisher, me as a publisher, Tom in production. Shit happens all the time, right? And no project is perfect. The next project's not going to be perfect, and you fix it, you make it better, and that's that. So thank you, Eric. Thanks all for being here. It's time for PSAs. Tom, lead us. PSA, what do you want to tell everybody about today? Go on.
All right, here we go. I got a quick one today. I think I'll be pretty fast on this, but as you pointed out earlier, as you mentioned, this year is 250 years of this country since our Declaration of Independence, right, in 1776. I think one of the things that's inherent to the place we find ourselves today politically is that patriotism has kind of gotten a little polluted, right? It's sort of gotten associated with sort of one political side of the aisle versus the other. There's a lot of like false patriotism going around. It's kind of become a bit of a dirty word. But what I would encourage people to do is I inherently still believe that this is a great country and has the potential to be an even greater one. And I think what I would encourage people to do is spend a little bit of time online during the World Cup and try to see this country through the eyes of some of the people visiting it for the first time, and see what they're discovering and falling in love with. And maybe it'll help you fall back in love with our country. So that's my PSA for today.
Tom, absolutely love that, man. I roll with you on that. We have our faults. We're not perfect, but I love my country, man. So okay, let's go. I got a simple. I changed my PSA like 4 times today. So here it is. I don't need much more time than that. Let's go. My PSA for today. I went and played pickleball the other day. I'm at the pickleball courts. It's like there's a little basketball court there. So many stinking empty bottles of water and junk all over the court. I hate trash. I hate people who litter. Quit littering. Make the area better than when you found. Like if you're out in nature, don't throw your shit everywhere. Don't leave your dog poop everywhere. If you're at the beach, pick up one more piece of trash that you took at my pickleball court. Make it better than you found it. Pick up 2 water bottles. That's what I got for you, Tom. Make it better than you found it.
I like it. All right, we're tight on time here, so why don't we jump right to memory lane? Why don't you take us for a quick little walk?
I'm going to go so short and sweet with you. My dad's been sick for like the last year. Since last Father's Day, he was broke arm, had all kinds of issues going on. All I wanted for this Father's Day was to hang out with Dad at my house. And Dad came over, me, him, and son hung out. My wife made us a good meal, and me and Dad got tan. We drank a beer, speaking of which, we drank a Sam Adams. He likes traditional Sam Adams. I had a Sam Adams and then a Summer Ale Sam Adams, but it was great, man. So the memory, I'm taking you back to, what was it, 3 days ago? My memory lane is from 3 days ago. And sometimes it's that simple, man. I got what I wanted. So that's it, Tom.
I like it.
Hey,
short and sweet and to the point. I mean, I think that's ultimately, I think that's kind of what Father's Day is all about, right? Is like just similarly to Mother's Day, right? Like spending time with family, spending time with the people you love, appreciating the people that put in a ton of effort and a ton of time into helping provide you with good opportunities over the course of your life, right? Like, I mean, that's what it's all about. So yeah, I mean, I think that sounds like a great way to spend Father's Day. My dad was out of town, but we did get a chance to talk on the phone, and we're having dinner with him this Friday night. So we'll get to see him then. Give him a little happy Father's Day card. So,
Tom, thank you. You do that, and you do a wrap up. What do you got for us, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this one's really simple. Ultimately, what it comes down to is consistency over time builds trust. And if you put in the effort, put in the work of showing up consistently for your audience, for your community, of delivering value to them over time consistently, they will be there for you when you need them, right? They will help you weather those small storms, right? Whether it's somebody putting black tape over your logo, or you not getting your product into a store, or you hitting a speed bump in your fulfillment, or whatever the case may be, whatever those small storms are, they will be there for you. They will help you weather them if you put in the work up front and build that trust, right? ultimately, I think a lot of times what that trust equates to is brand equity. So really what you're doing is by showing up consistently for your audience, by delivering value to them time and time again, and demonstrating to them that you can be trusted to do that into the future. What you're doing is you're building up that equity. And so when you do encounter some bumps in the road, as we all do from time to time, they will be there for you to help you over them. So that's all I got for today. I think that's all the summary we need. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup. It's a fun time, I think, to be involved, to watch soccer. And if you call it soccer and any Brits give you grief over that, why don't you just remind them that the word soccer actually comes from the late 19th century in Britain, where it was used as an abbreviation to refer to the football league, right? So actually the word soccer comes from England. So the fact that we call it soccer is actually their fault. So just remind them of that if anybody gives you grief. In the meantime, have a great rest of your week. We love you guys. We thank you guys for being here. For Dom, I'm Tom. We are not the smartest guys in the room. We thank you guys for being part of the community. We love you. We appreciate you. And we can't wait to see you again next Wednesday. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you. And bye-bye.